Good evening and salutations, my Jade friends. Okay, um, I'm gonna have to do this Brooklyn scene in a little bit because hmm, I think it just amazes me before I even get there is that she somehow managed to sink lower in my eyes, right? Like she somehow managed to get worse, and I'm like, wow, like that's impressive. But I guess we'll start off with the Chase and Lulu scene. Yes, there's a scene before that with Laura and Lulu. Basically, Lulu's not just saying that she's ready to move out and kind of just do her own thing and start her ish pretty much. Um, but the one thing I will sit there and say about Lulu that has just been kind of annoying, especially pertaining to Dante, is that she's not there trying to cram in 5 years of her missing and trying to make up for lost time. And I'm like, that's not how any of this works. But after Laura gets a call from Sonny and leaves, Chase comes over. And let me tell you something, Chase, right off rip, came across as kind of an asshole. Um, there were just things I didn't like. Like, okay, I get it. He wants to sit there and stand up for his wife. He wants to sit there and make sure that this secret is protected, protecting her and everything like that. I get all that. When you walk in somebody's house and you start demanding and telling people what they're not going to do, well, you're not going to do this and you're not going to do that, and you're going to like, I'm like, excuse me? Hey, bro, listen, she might have been gone for like 5 years or whatever, but like, I don't know what universe you just walk into somebody's house and then start telling them what to do and then start trying to use your badge, um, abuse your power of the badge to sit there and try to get her to keep quiet, right? Now, this is granted a little bit after Chase is not there talking to Dante, and Chase asked this question of, given the situation with Valentine, do you think it would be easier Brooklyn not knowing, Lulu not knowing about Charlotte? And I'm just like, is that like your way of like gauging if you should sit there and tell him or anything like that? I don't know what he got from that question, but I mean, he pretty much was like, she would still want to know, right? She would still want to know. So whatever you thought you were going to get from that to clear your conscience, make your conscience easier, whatever it was, it clearly was not there. But yeah, he comes over, and she's still pretty much like, he deserves to know. He has a right to know. Wouldn't you want to know? Um, which is something that he couldn't even sit there and answer. Now he does sit there and say it's none of your damn business. On some levels, he does make sense to a certain degree, right? One of the things that Lulu said was that Rocco has either a brother or sister out there, or a brother out there, right? So to sit there and say it's not her business, well, her son is her business, and her son's brother by extension is her business. So technically, that is her business. It's a small, small, small fraction, but it's still considered her business. He also pretty much is like, stop harassing my wife, da 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 da. And then again, he threatens to arrest her with the whole Martin Gray thing. And see, my whole thing is like, if I was Lulu, I would have did it out of spite. I would have did it purely out of spite, because to be honest, Dante didn't know, right? So Lulu clearly didn't sit there and tell him yet. But like, I feel like that's one of those things. At least for me, like I didn't sit there and tell him, and now you walk into my house and giving demands. That's going to make me want to tell him out of spite, out of pure spite. Now, let's go with let's go with Brooklyn for a minute. Because, like I said, she just managed to sink low in my eyes, if that's even possible, right? Because she's still pissy with Lois for telling Gloria and not telling her, saying, um, like essentially what this scene really just comes down to is how hypocritical that she's being. And when she does sit there and tell her that she told um, Chase, and she chose Chase because she didn't want to keep any secrets. She's like, well, you told Gloria, so I figured, like, her reasoning of why she said it just seemed like it was almost out of spite or whatever. And then when Chase sat there, and then when Lois was like, you put a huge burden on Chase and how it's going to affect his relationship with Dante moving forward, I kind of was like, that was the right thing for her to do. But then she said something that was just really out of pocket, right? She was like, well, my relationship with Chase is more important than you. And I'm like, wow, that is, for everything that your mother did, for you to sit there and come out and say that to her was so disgusting. Was so disgusting, right? Because she's in her little feelings and she's in her little bitchy moment, if we're gonna be honest. And I generally hate that word with a passion. But that's the only way I could sit there and describe her. And then she comes out her mouth and she's like, how do I even know the decision of giving up my baby was mine? How do I know that you and Gloria didn't sit there and manipulate me? I'm like, you are, listen, you sat there and you gave up your child. You didn't even sit there and tell Dante, which is still a terrible thing that she did. Then she sit there and try to make it seem like, well, I think you manipulated. No, 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 no. You did that. Okay? That was your selfish choice to sit there and do that. Don't you dare sit there and put that on Gloria and Lois because they sat there and they supported you. And then she tried to make it seem like, oh, well, your own skin is going to be safe. You're going to be protected because, Ned won't know and Tracy won't know and Olivia won't know. And I'm like, she risked her relationships with her closest loved ones for your ungrateful ass. Your ungrateful ass. That's what she did. So I'm like, boo, you're just so goddamn out of pocket. I'm like, it is really difficult to sit there and start getting through some of Brooklyn's scenes. To get through the rest of the scenes after that. And when Lois is like, listen, I'm gonna go back to Bensonhurst, and she was like, I think that's a good idea. I'm like, moving forward, these scenes, they're just gonna be incredibly difficult to sit there and watch because I thought I had little respect for Brooklyn before, and we're just dipping into the negatives at this point. Now, you got Jack, and he pulled out the gun on Valentine, right? And you got Jason sitting there just listening to the whole thing. And at some point, Anna gets there, and Jason intercepts Anna and tries to stall her. And at one point, he looked like he's going to stop her. Like, he grabs her arm, and she's like, let go of me. And he's just looking at her like, but there's a point where, Anna comes in with the gun, and Jason comes in right behind. And Jack is like, yo, listen, I don't trust that you're going to do the right thing. I don't. Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's unarmed, blah, 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 blah. And, I'm doing this out of revenge. But your ass is going to sit there and let him go. I don't know if I don't put down this gun, you're not going to let him go. Given your track history, which is not good. But against his better judgment, he, lowers his weapon. Anna calls in back up and arrests Valentine. So the cops take him away. And, Jack is pretty much like, oh, well, it ends well. And Jason's like, nope, because Carly's in the hospital because of you. He pretty much warns him, stay away from her, right? Felicia comes in, and she starts talking to Carly about Jack and being like, I need to stay away from him, and the stuff that he does is going to affect you. And Carly says, well, this is my first time, being caught in the crosshairs. When I was with Sonny, I've been through this before. And I'm kind of just like, okay, bro, before you get into all of that, do you understand how messed up that sentence is and how you just normalize that? Like, oh, I've been in a situation like this before. It's totally fine. I'll be out like a week. It's no big deal. And it's like, that's a problem right there. Because you have kids and you have a little one. And, while Donna, because I thought that was Avery for some reason. Sonny has to sit there and explain to Donna, but while mommy's in the hospital, you're just in there acting like this is just a typical Thursday at this point. Like that was all putting in general. And then after Dante came in and answered some questions and stuff like that, um, you know, Felicia, I was going to sit there and call her Felicity. I might have called her Felicity. Felicia, pretty much urges her to kind of just, stay away from Jack. He's dangerous. And then tries to compare the enemy list from Sonny being like, well, Sonny has local enemies. Jack has international ones. Sonny would sit there and come in. And it was almost kind of a joke in a sense because I remember what Dion said, GH Envy. She was like, listen, an enemy will come in, Sonny will take him out, and then you have a little breathing room until the next person comes in. And that's something that, GH Envy used to always kind of despise about the mob stuff. It's like a mobster will come in, Sonny will look like the good mobster, take him out, and then it will be rinse and repeat. But, she's all like, listen, I'm doing this for Bobby and everything like that, and da 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 da. And I'm like, oh, whatever. It's not a bad scene, don't get me wrong. Um, I feel like they are close because, in a way, it's like, even though her mom is not there, her mom was very close to Felicia. Or Felicity again. Felicia. So it's like kind of having her there, but not having her there, in a sense. So I get that part. And, I don't know. I've been always into saying that, like, Felicia. I gotta call this girl Felicia at some point, but Felicia, I always have to say like Felicia scenes are just kind of pointless and like, what is she really doing here? At least give her something that's really interesting to do. I'll let it go on this one. Now, Sonny is talking to Laura about Valentine breaking in, and they compare notes and stuff like that. And he sits there and says that okay, so people were upset that Sonny didn't kill Valentine. And Sonny said that, he kind of did it, like, for Laura in a sense, like Laura's not to tell him not to do it instead. Because what he realized is that he takes out Valentine, right? He takes out Charlotte. And that's going to affect Rocco. That's going to affect his grandkids. So it's going to be a ripple effect. And it's going to probably affect Dante. So he was like, it's not worth it. It's not worth me doing that. Now, if Jack would have went out carrying out his plan, in a sense, you still would have kind of killed them. You just would have not gotten your hands dirty. You know? That's originally what Sonny told Jason to do, to make sure that Jack take care of his business. So, like, this whole, well, I'm trying to, I did it for you because I missed your friendship and everything like that. It's like, I don't know how that would work out, you know, Valentine being dead and everything like that. It almost seemed like, and this is the sad part, right? You told this speech, about how it would affect the kids. Affect Charlotte, affect Rocco, because, Sonny did it. You don't think that there's not going to be a ripple effect since you kind of sent Jack to do the same thing? Like, all that talk seemed like it just would have been out the window anyway if Jack would have did it. Because even if they wouldn't have connected back to Sonny, it still would have been a ripple effect. So this whole speech just seemed like, what's the point of it? Like, seriously, what is even the point of that? Anyway, they all, they talk about their friendship and how they missed each other and everything like that. And then, Laura's like, well, what you do and me being the mayor, we just got to sit there and find a way to navigate our friendship. Oh, okay, Laura, yeah, you need to navigate your friendship with the local mobster. That's, yep. Listen, I don't hate Sunny or anything like that, but I'm like, come on. We sit there and look at that from optics. That's what it comes across from the people in Port Charles' point of view, not necessarily the fans. The fans don't really care. Not really. Most of them don't. But from the perspective of like the Port Charles fictional city, that's what you're doing. You're like, we just got to find a way to, you know, navigate our way, navigating your way into being friends with the local mobster. Yes, no, we got it. Um, anyway, I feel like that's pretty much about it. Oh, also, Anna pretty much says goodbye to Valentine for now. Like, hey, listen, you did too many crimes. I let you go last time because of Charlotte, but Charlotte has Lulu now, and you're kind of, you know, you SOL pretty much. Like, yeah, that's it. All right, if I miss anything, write in the comment section below. Tonight, I will be snipped doing a collab with ranting and ranting with Ricardo. So I'll do my best to sit there after a few minutes of talking to try to answer some comments and stuff like that. But if I don't get to every single comment, it's because I have a co-host tonight. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we'll go through most of the shows or whatever shows that um, Ranton actually has watched, which I imagine a lot of them. So, anyway, we'll see. See you tonight.